The invitation had come by mistake. Or maybe it wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe fate had its own twisted sense of humor. My ex-wife, Clara, was getting married again, this time to a man whose wealth and status far exceeded mine. I hadn't spoken to her in years, not since the divorce that stripped me of my dignity, but, strangely enough, freed me too. I wasn't going to attend. Why would I? She had left me because she said my dreams were too small, my life too simple. I work with my hands, building furniture in a small workshop I'd inherited from my father. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. Clara had wanted champagne parties, fast cars, luxury vacations, the kind of life Instagram influencers pretended was real. But curiosity has a cruel way of pulling at a man's chest. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see the woman who had once whispered she couldn't live without me. And so, against my better judgment, I found myself walking into the Grand Hotel ballroom on the evening of her wedding. The chandeliers dripped crystal light, the air heavy with perfume and laughter that came too easily. I spotted Clara instantly. She looked radiant, draped in a gown that probably cost more than my truck. But when her eyes found me standing at the back, they narrowed, and her lips curled into the smile I knew too well, the one she used when she wanted to wound. She didn't waste a second. "Oh, everyone," she called out to her glittering circle of friends, her voice sugar-coated with cruelty. "This is my ex-husband, the carpenter. He used to think building tables was a career." Her friends laughed, champagne glasses clinking. I felt their eyes rake over me, dismissing my plain suit, my callous hands. Heat climbed my neck, but I said nothing. Years of Clara's cutting words had taught me that silence was sometimes the sharpest blade. Then the groom appeared, tall, immaculate, with the kind of confidence that only old money bred. He walked toward Clara, but when his gaze landed on me, he stopped cold, his face drained of color, the charm melting into something raw, something panicked. I frowned. He knew me, but from where? The room stilled. Clara laughed, though it wavered this time. "Darling, this is just my ex, don't worry, he's nobody." But her groom wasn't looking at her anymore. He was staring at me like a man seeing a ghost. His hand trembled as he reached for a drink, downing it in one swallow. Then he muttered something under his breath, something only I caught. "Not you." The pieces clicked in my mind with brutal clarity. Months ago, during the last year of my marriage, Clara had grown distant. She'd stayed out late, made excuses, dismissed my questions with disdain. I'd suspected another man, but I'd never found proof. Now, standing in that glittering ballroom, I understood. It was him. The man she was marrying was the very man she had cheated on me with. The air in my lungs turned to fire. Clara had once told me I wasn't enough for her, that she needed someone who could give her the life she deserved. And here he was, the man who'd stolen my wife, standing at the altar with her, about to pledge forever. But fate, it seemed, wasn't finished. The groom's panic didn't fade. Instead, he pulled Clara aside, his voice rising just enough for those near to hear. "You didn't tell me it was him. You promised he'd never know." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Clara's mask cracked, her eyes darting to me, then back to him. "Keep your voice down," she hissed. "This is our wedding day." I stood still, every muscle tight, watching their perfect facade crumble. I hadn't planned on revenge. I hadn't even planned on speaking. But now, with the truth trembling on the surface, I felt something shift inside me. I stepped forward, my voice steady though my heart thundered. "Funny thing about tables," I said softly, the room leaning in to hear. "They're built to last when made with care, but if you cut corners, if you betray the craft, they fall apart." The groom's face blanched further. Clara's eyes burned with fury, but behind it, fear flickered. She knew the crowd understood. "You want to tell them, Clara?" I asked, my voice slicing through silence. "Or should I?" Her groom didn't wait. He turned to the guests, his hands shaking. "She was with me when she was still married," he admitted, his words tumbling out like stones. "I didn't know she'd drag him here." Gasps erupted, shock spreading like wildfire. Clara's friends recoiled, their laughter silenced. The carefully curated image she had built shattered in an instant. Clara lunged toward me, her voice a desperate whisper. Why couldn't you just stay away? For the first time in years, I smiled at her, not with bitterness, but with release. Because sometimes the truth has a way of showing up whether you want it to or not. I left then, walking past the stunned faces, past a man who had taken what I'd loved, past a woman who had thought wealth could bury betrayal. I didn't look back. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin, carrying none of the heaviness of the ballroom. I inhaled deeply, feeling lighter than I had in years. I hadn't sought vengeance, but I'd been given something better. The truth laid bare, their perfect illusion destroyed not by me, but by their own guilt. As I drove home to my small workshop, the scent of sawdust still clinging to my clothes, I realized I no longer carried Clara's shadow. She could keep her chandeliers, her parties, her hollow dreams. I had my tools, my craft, my peace, and that was worth more than all the gold in her new world. Some tables collapse under pressure. Others stand steady for a lifetime. I knew which one I was.